Welcome, trader, to the weekly Forex recap brought to you by Admiral Markets. My name is Chris, and I'm reviewing the US dollar bearish momentum and what could happen next with the US dollar versus the euro, pound, yen, and Aussie. Before we do that, though, be aware that this video is intended for a global audience and may not be suitable for everyone. Take a look at admiralmarketsglobal.com, select your country of residence, and contact an appropriate entity to find out more about that and other details. Also, trading for exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk and may not be suitable for everyone. Therefore, please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. This video is for educational and informational purposes only, and by continuing watching this webinar, you agree with this disclaimer and you are aware of the risk involved when trading. Let's start with the euro-dollar weekly chart, and we see a big bullish candle, in fact, last week. Of course, because of the Thursday price action that was heavily to the upside during the ECB news event. And the euro dollar really went up a few hundred pips there on that day. Friday, we had an FP last week, Friday, on the 4th of December. That didn't really do anything too much. We can see that price, in fact, made a small little down day here. But all in all, this Thursday, bullish day, still dominating the playing field, breaking above the resistance and showing the bullish momentum here to the upside. Now, that happened basically at this low earlier this year in March. And of course, support level, potential support level, price reacting to that basically, and showing this that this downtrend has not the force or momentum to push through that support level as yet. Of course, there are a lot of news events coming up this week too. Next week, the FOMC. Take a look at the calendar to make sure that you keep an eye on that. But obviously, a price action signal like that could be potentially a problem for the downtrend. A news event like next week, the federal interest rate for the US could, of course, if it does go up by 0.5% to 0.5, could send this lower and break through the bottom. But ultimately, I consider the downtrend only restarted when that blue line is broken, when price is able to break below 104.50. That's the moment when looking at this weekly chart, and I zoom out a bit, when I think that the downtrend has a good chance of continuing. Now, until that happens, obviously there was divergence between these bottoms, and it was looking like a falling wedge. And the news event also indeed was the catalyst for price to move up. Obviously, that was the main driver here, but price did make that the upside that I was expecting because of these signals. And now we're seeing that basically a big momentum plus a bit of a correction now occurring, which is looking like a small little bear flag, in fact, or bull flag, excuse me, the other way around. Right, like a little channel going down. Now, in this type of environment, when news events are changing the dynamics that much, it is a bit of a difficult environment, especially with more news events to come. But obviously, I think that this is definitely looking like a bull flag with the momentum to the upside prior to it. So what I would expect is price to bounce off the 38.2 fib or the 50 and do something like this back to the top of the channel. Now, when it gets back to the top of the channel, it could bounce back down, or it could break, and especially the breakout, I think, is potentially interesting in my own trading plan for a small move up to the -272 target. I'm not expecting a huge continuation just because of the market uncertainty at the moment, but of a bit of a continuation here to get divergence between these tops, I think, is a decent probability at the moment. Now, if it breaks below the 50 fib, then we're getting into kind of a neutral zone. I think that down in here, price could still continue lower, down to the 61.8. If it breaks below the 61.8, it can go down to the 78.6 fib. And if it breaks, obviously, this blue level, then maybe the downtrend is continuing, right? That is the downtrend zone right here, below the red. But the blue, we could get bounces to the upside. We can get breaks to the downside. It's kind of like a neutral zone, I would say. All right, so that's my view, at least, on the euro dollar. All in all, it's not an easy zone because price has made a huge upside, which makes the market a bit more vulnerable, I think. But if I am going to keep an eye on anything, then it's the 38.2 and the 50 fib, the -272 target, and of course the bottom is support level indicated by blue at the bottom there. So those are the key levels in my opinion. Ned tonight we'll have lots of webinars this week. Obviously, keeping an eye on an updated version of how the dollar is progressing. For instance, Monday evening, weekly FX recap. Tuesday and Wednesday morning, we have live trading and strategy. And then in the Wednesday evening and Thursday evening, we have education. Wednesday, we'll be taking a look at profit stops and how to use that. And Thursday, how to build your own Forex strategy from scratch and show you how the sequence is basically of the steps you need to take and keep an eye on when doing that. So great lineup, I think, Hope to see you in one of these webinars sometime soon. So this is the pound USD. We had a break here of this small little triangle and price falling down nicely, then bumping roughly into the bottom of a daily downtrend channel, the support levels, and price making the reversal here with the euro dollar on Thursday. Now at this moment, it is close to resistance. If we zoom out, you can see that a bit better. Resistance trend lines coming in pretty strongly here, and on the daily chart, you can see the price bounce off roughly the bottom of a channel, as you can see here, right? Pretty close to this support trend line, kind of poking through it a bit, but ultimately showing upside. So, yeah, pound dollar also showing a strong daily candle engulfing twins, also a strong weekly candle, in fact, here, bullish. But I'm not that excited about upside just because it is a strong downtrend channel with resistance pretty close by. So from my point of view, yes, price could break this top to get divergence on the 1 hour chart, for instance, between these highs here, for instance, because this was a strong momentum. But after that, I think it could be a very good reversal spot for back downside. So when price hits the second trend line here around 152, 151.75, I think that could be an interesting shorting zone for downside. At the moment, actually, price is moving down, and there is a bit of a mini kind of triangle occurring right here. Price is breaking that, and that itself could also usher in some downside. But I'll still keep an eye on this particular fib because of the strong momentum, it could be that the 38.2 and the 50% are bouncing spots like the euro dollar. So I'm still a bit cautious with downside at this point. Ultimately, if it breaks below the 50, we could see some falls occurring on the pound dollar as well. But if it stays above the 50 especially, it could still be a bouncing spot up to that minus 272 target. From my perspective, I think that the minus 272 zone here, somewhere around here with this resistance, even up to here, are interesting shorting spots, in fact. And I think that that is probably the most interesting potential for this week, in fact, on the pound USD. Obviously, if it hits the 50 or 61.8 and then starts to kind of go slowly upside and looking like a bear flag like this, and the bear flag starts to break, then I wouldn't oppose to looking for shorts below those trend lines as well. All right, moving on to the dollar yen. Basically kind of a consolidation zone right in here. If it breaks that support of the consolidation zone, we can, I would think, expect a downside to the support trend line. That could be an interesting trade. If it breaks the consolidation zone to the upside, it could be a small breakout trade, but then again, there is also still resistance lingering pretty close by. So not a lot of space, I would say, there. I would really like to see price break above this bigger top before the uptrend I would expect to continue. AUDUSD, all right, showed a strong bullish candle last week, kind of towering above this resistance and this trend line already, continuing to the upside. So I think maybe a small retracement of last week's bullish candle down to that same broken trend line could be a bouncing spot yet again. There was already some volatility, as you can see here, kind of expanding wedge. So I think if we test that level, it could still be a bouncing spot. That or the support trend line still looks like a bullish environment to me on the AUDUSD. And you can see, actually, if we zoom on down to the 4 hour chart, that we already had a couple of bounces here as price goes up, then down and up, down here. A lot of volatility there. But I still think that price could respect these support trend lines and support zones in general. If it breaks through the trend line, well, then maybe a reversal is occurring and would look for a pullback after the break for downside somewhere in here. If the price manages to bounce and if there's signals of bullish price action at these levels, I would be looking for longs on the AUDUSD as well, similar maybe to the euro dollar. So euro and Aussie look a bit more bullish to me. Pound has the same bullish momentum but is in a downtrend and has resistance nearby, so I'd rather wait for it to get higher to look for shorts. And dollar yen is really kind of that consolidation zone and just waiting on that particular pair at the moment. That wraps up the recap of today. Thanks for joining so much. Take a look at the social media, Admiral Markets. A lot of content being released daily on the website as well. And wish you all good trading. See you soon. Cheers.